How's it going, YouTube? It's Ish here with Growing in OKC, and today I'm not in the garden. As you can see, I'm where any man belongs, in the kitchen. We're going to be making a vegetarian chili, and right now I'm chopping up sweet potatoes. After I'm done with this, I'll take you on a tour of all the ingredients that we have here and exactly what you're going to do with them. So let me finish chopping this up and we'll take you around. Okay, so here are all the supplies that you're going to need in order to make vegetarian chili. You can use either potatoes or yams or tofu or a combination of all three for this one project. I've diced up my sweet potatoes already and they're in the pot. And then secondly, I'm going to dice up half of one white onion, or rather a yellow onion, 3 bulbs of garlic, 1 bell pepper, 1 squash, 1 zucchini, and I'm going to let all of those I'm going to saute all of those together until they become soft. So you can, if you'd like to take the time, do the onion, garlic, and sweet potato first, and then place in your bell pepper, and then place in your squash, because the squash and zucchini will take the least amount of time to cook. Once all that's done, open up your can of tomatoes, and for this I'm using the best value or best choice tomatoes, but you can also use whole tomatoes that you've grown in your garden. Unfortunately, we're out of season right now, so all of these things I've had to buy, but you can use homegrown tomatoes, put them in a blender or chop them up, but then add them. And then add your chili beans and your kidney beans. I wash the kidney beans before I put them in. And then add your tofu and all your seasonings. And your seasonings consist of the following. Don't worry, I'll write this at the end. 1/4 teaspoon celery salt, 1/2 teaspoon rosemary, 1 teaspoon oregano, 1/2 teaspoon seasoned salt, 1 big tablespoon of paprika, 1 teaspoon cumin, and then garlic salt to flavor at the end. So now I'm going to get to chopping all this up and start sauteing the onion and sweet potato. Alright, so I'm about to chop this onion. Let me drop some knowledge on you real quick. Take an onion, cut it in half, leaving the stem intact. Cut the onion laterally toward the onion. Being sure to keep your fingers out of the way. Then cut perpendicular to those lines. Still keeping said fingers out of the way. Put the tip into the compost. That's how you chop half an onion. Next, for the garlic, you've got your handy dandy mallet. This is the meat tenderizer side. Don't use that. Use the flat side. We're just going to kind of firmly hit the garlic. That separates the skin from the garlic meat, and then it's pretty easy just to peel the skin right off. Comes off in almost all one piece. Alright, so after I added the garlic to the stock pot, I started it on a medium-high heat with a little bit of EVO, and now I'm going to start in on the bell pepper because I want to get that in pretty quickly as well. So I'm just dicing this up. Alright, so I apologize for this camera shot, but I just wanted to show you I got my lid on here. Everything's happening a bit fast. I'm adding some bell pepper to the mix. And as you can tell, I'm kind of doing all this myself, and I'm no Rachel Ray, so I don't have a camera crew with me. I apologize for the shot, but this is kind of what we're looking at. yams or sweet potatoes, a little bit of onions. You can see they're already starting to clear out. And then I've just added the bell pepper. And then I'm going to put the lid back on so that it can trap all the moisture in. Keep all those flavor crystals in there. Okay, so I have all 3 cans open. And for those of you following along at home, I just wanted to show you what the vegetables look like before I started to add all the other ingredients, because this is the last time you're going to see them solo. Aside from burning your fingers, you'll know the vegetables are done. The squash and zucchini went in last, and they're a little bit bendy. I don't know if you saw that when I moved it, but it's kind of flexible and it gives a little bit rubbery when it's all done. And the onions are completely caramelized. Get off me. The bell pepper has a nice good look to it. It's lighter brown than it was when it originally started. And so now we're just going to add in all of our other ingredients here. Notice that I'm adding in the tomatoes with all the sauce. I didn't rinse them out like I did the kidney beans. That's because I want those juices in my sauce. And same with the chili beans. I don't rinse the chili beans because a lot of the ingredients that I have are exactly the same as what's in a can of chili beans. Okay, remember from everything that I told you earlier, the spices on here, actually it doesn't identify them, but most of the spices that are in chili beans are cumin, paprika, a little bit of other spices, and so I don't even bother draining them because it's the same exact thing as what I'm going to be adding in a moment anyway. Alright, so I know you're looking at this and you're thinking to yourself, Ish, it doesn't quite look like chili. Sure, everything's there, but the color's all wrong. Okay, this is where our spices come in. What we typically think of as the chili color mostly comes from the paprika. So just watch as I add in all the flavor crystals. Now I stir it in and just watch as the color transforms from the paprika into that darker maroon that we're used to seeing in our chili. Notice the broth starts to thicken a little bit, and it takes on a deeper red color. Okay. Hopefully that now looks more like a chili that you're used to seeing with that dark color. Okay, all the color comes from the paprika. If you don't think your chili looks right, doesn't look dark enough, add a little more paprika. You can also use cayenne, but be very careful when adding cayenne because a little bit will go a long way in a pot of chili. Okay, so now we've allowed it to simmer for a while, and because I'm doing this with a little bit of tofu, I've got about 30 more minutes left to allow this to simmer. So I'm going to add the tofu now. Tofu doesn't add any of its own flavor, so I'm adding the tofu at the last step, well, second to last, because all I want the tofu to do is just soak up all the flavor that's already in there. If you don't like tofu, don't add it. It's a perfectly good chili without it, and it's still great. So we're just going to fold that in, being careful. I buy the extra firm because it holds the best consistency when I cut it, and it'll hold its shape in here as well. Once it's in, set it down. 30 minutes later, we'll be eating dinner. Alright, So I'm sure some of you all were really paying attention as I actually swept through the counter and showed you everything that was there, and you might have noticed this lime. Now the reason why I have a lime is because a lot of people like to add unique flavors to their chili. So do I. So the lime is my secret ingredient. Instead of using a beer or wine or a dark lager in my beer, I use about half of a lime for this much chili, and it adds that crisp flavor that goes really well, especially if you have a more spicy chili. There's nothing better than spicy mixed in with a little bit of sweet. And so add the lime, and I guess I ruined the secret of a good chili. Add a little bit of lime to your chili and it'll give it a really original flavor. And then use a little bit of garlic salt to taste. Good luck cooking in OKC or wherever you're at in the country.